Hello and welcome to our daily Africa Cup of Nations show here on France 24. There's just a day to go now until the last 8 teams standing goes head-to-head for a chance to reach the semi-finals. To discuss what to expect in the quarter-finals, which kick off on Saturday, I'm joined in the studio by Eurosport's journalist Ruben Slatger. Thanks for being with us again, Ruben.
Thank you very much.
And we'll get the show kicking off with a reminder of who is facing who in those quarterfinals. Tournament's debutants, the Gambia and hosts Cameroon will get the ball rolling on Saturday, followed by Burkina Faso and Tunisia. There's an absolute blockbuster to look forward to as Mohamed Salah's Egypt take on Morocco and Sadio Mane's Senegal face Equatorial Guinea on Sunday. Now, let's delve straight into those first quarterfinals with the host Cameroon taking on the underdogs, the Gambia. Tournament debutants and the AFCON's lowest-ranked side, the Gambia, have enjoyed a sensational run. The Scorpions remain unbeaten, claiming 3 wins and keeping 3 clean sheets from their games. Cameroon are also unbeaten, though they have only narrowly saw off a 10-man Comoros in their round of 16 match. The indomitable Lions are hoping to clinch their 6th AFCON title on home soil. France 24's sports editor Benoit Perrochet on our French language channel caught up with footballing legend Roger Miller, who won the competition twice with Cameroon in 1984 and 1988. The former striker spoke about the Lions' chances of going far in this year's competition.
The Lions are aiming to have their best Africa Cup of Nations yet. But we never delivered big performances when I played in tournaments with Cameroon. Honestly, we never played great games. We often got the better of our opponents and had an upper hand because of the quality of the players.
Do you see Cameroon getting to the final or not?
Well, in any case, we'll do everything to get to the final. We'll do everything. I mean, everything to get to the final. But we know that it's going to be hard.
So, Ruben, Cameroon have had a pretty good start to this competition, though there were some sloppy mistakes in that last game against the Comoros. But as Miller just said there, tournaments are more about grinding out the results than showing dazzling performances on the pitch.
Yeah, and we shouldn't forget that they're one of the only teams that at least won all those easy matches on paper. We have seen so many favorites already crashing out against the underdogs, so at least we have to give them credits for that. And we also shouldn't forget that the pressure on them is just immense. They're playing, well, it has been compared with Brazil 2014. Don't know if it's exactly the same, but we know how that finished. So I don't think that the Gambia will win tomorrow 7-1. But at the same time, the pressure is high on them. And until now, I think they resisted quite well. And they still have another match that they should win. And then finally in the semi-final, they would meet an opponent of their own quality.
Yeah, but it would definitely be a real test for them if they get there, obviously facing Morocco or Egypt, whoever wins that quarter-final. And Cameroon have been scoring a lot. So they obviously have the top scorer of the competition so far with Vincent Aboubakar. And he's followed by his partner, Carl Toko Mkambi, who is joint second. So lots of goals.
Yeah, in their offensive power is impressive. Those 2 players, but also just the whole team going forward. They're impressive. They have one of the best goalkeepers with Andre Onana, but we have seen in all those matches that they also gave away quite a lot of chances. So if Gambia can manage to be as solid in the back as they were in those other matches, because 3 clean sheets is not nothing, of course. And if they can manage to just score that goal, they can have a chance. Having said all that, the striking power is quite impressive, and it's one of the only teams scoring a lot of goals in this tournament. So if they can continue doing that, it should be no problem.
And on that note, we've already talked about them a fair bit yesterday, but we're going to turn our attention to Cameroon's opponents, the Gambia. They're perhaps the biggest surprise of the tournament so far after going against all the odds to reach the quarterfinals. With no standout stars, the Scorpions say it's their unique team spirit that has allowed them to get so far, and they're hoping that the fairy tale will continue. James Messina and Ellen Gainsford went to meet them.
Kickoff is quickly approaching and the Scorpions are gearing up for the biggest football game in their country's history. One of just 2 newcomers to this year's Africa Cup of Nations, the Gambia have already exceeded expectations as head coach Tom Saintfiet continues to push his side to its very best ahead of their quarter-final this Saturday.
He's like a father to us, so he help us to reach where we are now, because he's open to everyone. It will be the biggest game for us, because each stage you are playing now is the biggest game. So we'll go and give everything we have to win the game.
Wins against Mauritania, Tunisia and Guinea, and a draw against Mali. The Scorpions got the best of more experienced teams, capitalising on a strong defensive line, having let in just 1 goal so far. And upon his return from isolation after testing positive to COVID-19, goalkeeper Boubacar Gueye had crowds roaring when he saved Saifuddin Jaziri's penalty as they faced Tunisia in their final group stage game.
It was probably one of the best moments in my football career this far. So, yeah, first game, if you save a penalty, it's always boosting your confidence. If it's in the 45th minute, 0-0, and you save the penalty, it always, yeah, it was a good start, let's call it that. And I was trying to gain confidence from that and move on. And since until now, it worked pretty well, and I'm trying to keep that spirit up. We're one big family on the pitch and off the pitch, and you can see everyone is trying to defend that 0 at the back. We only conceded one penalty until now, and we're trying to keep it that way, because if you don't concede, you can't lose the game. So that's the best way to end the game.
Rather than boasting an all-star lineup, their head coach says their strength is in teamwork, which encourages his players to give everything they have on the pitch.
Before every game in the first group stage, we showed a video, a motivational video, and that was one video was about Denmark becoming European champion in '92, one was about Greece becoming European champion in 2004, and one was about Zambia becoming African champion in 2012. So we are here really with ambition. On the other side, we are also realistic that it can end any moment, because we are a small team, 150 in the world, a country with 2 million people and the smallest on the mainland. But I think we have shown that Gambia is a respected football country. We are now in the best 8 countries of Africa on this tournament, and that's a fantastic experience.
A team spirit that allowed Moussa Barrow to put them ahead and beat Guinea in their first knockout game. The Gambia now head into the quarter-finals with a sizable challenge ahead. But whether or not they beat host nation Cameroon, they've already made an impact back home.
Gambia was always a football country, because when I arrived there, we played Algeria. There were 45,000 people in the stadium, where the capacity 25. The people were sitting in the light posts, sitting behind the goal, behind the dugout. It was amazing. People love football there, but this can be only a boost in confidence. So I think the next 5 to 10 years, Gambian football will develop. We will get more talent in Europe by bigger clubs. And as a national team, I hope that we can settle in as a team who regularly qualify for AFCON. And the big dream is naturally the World Cup 2026, where 9 African countries will qualify, and I think if the team develops like this, it's possible that Gambia will be there.
So the Gambia's fairy tale continues, and regardless of the outcome, the team is already walking on air. In a tournament that's been full of surprises, the Gambia's success has lifted the spirits of thousands of fans all over and shown that newcomers should never be underestimated.
A team that certainly already won a lot of hearts, regardless of their result tomorrow. And let's move on now to the other quarter-final taking place on Saturday. Burkina Faso will go head-to-head with Tunisia for a place in the semis. It's not been an easy route for either side. Burkina Faso opened their campaign with a loss at the hands of Cameroon before a narrow win against Cape Verde and a disappointing draw against Ethiopia. And then they needed a penalty shootout to overcome Gabon in the round of 16. Tunisia, meanwhile, were hit by a COVID outbreak ahead of their last group game and scraped their way through into the knockouts. But the Eagles of Carthage then produced one of the biggest shocks of the tournament so far by knocking out the hot favourites Nigeria in the round of 16, despite being without 12 players. Though their assistant coach said there will be no complacency.
Some might think that Burkina Faso isn't as strong as Nigeria. We don't see it that way. We go into each game with the same approach and respect all teams. Many teams that were supposed to go far in the tournament have already been eliminated. Now there is no team that's a sure candidate to win. There are no big or small teams.
So, Ruben, Tunisia went from a group stage full of difficulties to knocking out one of the big favourites, and now they're obviously back at full strength with most of those players back in the squad. Should they fancy their chances?
Of course. I mean, yeah, everybody is still fancying their chances right now because everyone is winning against everyone. So, yeah, it's difficult to predict. At the same time, Tunisia, we saw another Tunisian team in that match against Nigeria compared to what we've seen in the group stages, so that will give them a lot of confidence. Same thing for Burkina Faso, though, because especially the first hour against Gabon, they were impressive. Then afterwards, they lost way a little bit. But I think that both of those teams will feel it as a real 50-50 chance to go through to a semi-final, which would be for both the countries a fantastic achievement.
It's certainly a tight contest to look forward to. Now, we just have about enough time to look ahead to Sunday's clashes. A quick reminder of those games. Senegal take on Equatorial Guinea, and a clash of the Titans is coming up as Egypt face Morocco. Ruben, ahead of this tournament, Senegal were really touted as one of the big favourites, but they've had pretty lackluster campaign so far, despite coming top of the standings.
Yeah, we haven't seen the real power of this team yet. We're waiting for it. We'll see it. We never know. I mean, Algeria are already out, the other odds-on favorite before the tournament. Having said all that, Senegal is the only team. They didn't concede a single goal in the whole tournament. They're solid. Playing Equatorial Guinea, which is also another really offensive team, they should have a realistic chance of going through. It's just waiting for that standout performance of Senegal. I'm really looking forward to it. I also think at the same time the pressure on them is high as well. We've talked about Cameroon, but Senegal never winning the Africa Cup of Nations, and all the pressure from their country being the highest placed African team in the FIFA standings. So let's hope the pressure won't take too much of them, and that they will finally show us what they're made of.
And in contrast, Equatorial Guinea have no big stars in their team, but they did pull off that upset against Algeria. Can they pull off another one?
Yes, well, I don't see them doing it again against Senegal. At the same time, we've seen so many upsets, so I won't pronounce it too loudly. But if you see how they play compared to the Gambia, they've really shown also a lot of interesting football during this tournament. For the Equatorial Guinea, the last match, it was only about surviving and getting onto penalties. So I don't see how they will knock out Senegal. But having said all that, we've seen a lot of strange things already.
Anything can definitely happen in this Africa Cup of Nations. Let's move on to that big blockbuster that everyone's looking forward to. A clash of two traditional African heavyweights, but neither one has particularly shone so far.
No, well, having said that, I think that Morocco, they're getting better. They're getting better during this tournament. I think that Morocco has shown some interesting things also in the group stages. It wasn't impressive all the time, but we have seen already some stuff, especially with those free kicks of Hakimi, but the team play as well. And Egypt in the group stage, they weren't impressive at all, but that match against the Ivory Coast, they were already a lot better. So let's hope that both those teams kept their best for last for this real blockbuster that it should be. Because I think that if Morocco, which is quite an offensive team, can continue on that offensive style, and Egypt, that is more a counter-attacking team, will maybe also use the spaces, we are also really up for a fantastic game.
I hope we are up for a fantastic game. That brings us to the end of our show for this evening. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Ruben for joining us again. We'll be back at the same time on Saturday with the results and analysis of those first quarter-final matches. Until then, stay tuned for more news here on France 24.